What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hypocritical AF podcast. I am your host, Albert Fig, and we are getting ready to wrap up the month of June. And in this week's special episode, I have the privilege of sitting down with an inspirational person. Her name is Ellie. What's up?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for agreeing to come on. Thank you for making the trip up here to Sacramento. And thank you for trusting and feeling comfortable enough to even accept on coming here.
I'm honestly so honored that you even asked me. So,
Yay.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I appreciate it. So it's funny the way this came to be about. And I want to tell the viewers and the listeners a little like background between this, right?
Okay.
So I had that's how we know it's such a small world. I had no idea who you were, right? I had nothing. I saw your page on Instagram and I was just like, wow, like that's someone who's inspirational, who like has a message in life right now, who has a meaning. And it's someone like I would genuinely want to have a conversation with, to like get to know them a little more, get to know their history and get to know like their journey that they're on, you know? So I reached out to her via DM and I was like, I don't know if she's going to reply. You know, I didn't know if she was going to like actually accept the invitation. And I didn't know, even furthermore too, like we spoke about earlier, I didn't even know if we were in the same state. That's how little I knew, you know what I mean? So I just assumed, you know, we could maybe set this up via Zoom or I'll make a trip out somewhere. And, you know, small world, come to find out, we went to the same high school from the same area.
Yes, same small town.
Same small town and everything. And yeah, so it's all full circle. And I'm glad we were able to set this up.
Me too.
Okay, so I'm trying to, you know, there's a bunch of different directions I want to go to be able to start this and everything, right? But for first starters, again, I want to reiterate your story, your journey is so inspirational, so motivating.
Thank you.
And it definitely needs to be highlighted. And, you know, I'm here to try to give a megaphone for your voice, you know? So if it's okay with you, that I would like to start with, I want to talk about September 13th, 2017.
Yes. Okay, I'm here to talk about that. So
okay, yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable with everything. I just want to start there and just talk about that day.
It's honestly like crazy that you know the day.
Yeah,
you've done your research.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wow. That day changed my life forever. I was only 17 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had graduated high school. I was going to college. I had a job. I had my own vehicle. I felt like my life was perfect.
Yeah.
I was headed the direction I wanted to be. It's actually a really interesting story. So I don't know if you care to hear this, but I'm going to tell it anyways.
Yeah.
So that day was just weird. I mean, I'm such a strong believer in everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, just the way that the events played out was just so weird, and how it all led to what happened to me. And so I had class in the morning. I was going to Cuesta College, which is based out of San Luis Obispo. I was actually going to the North County campus, which is in Paso.
Yeah.
Was about an hour from where I lived. I was living in Lockwood at the time, which is just like outside of King City, which is where we're from, right?
Yeah.
You know Lockwood.
Yeah, it's close to San Lucas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Got to class a little early because parking was an issue. It was like 9:00 in the morning, and somebody came. I was sitting in my truck waiting for time to go, you know, and somebody came up to my window and knocked on my window. And I was like, it caught me way off guard. I was so scared. And I rolled down my window. I was like looking at the guy, and he said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know your taillight's out."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, really? Okay, thank you so much. You know, whatever. I went to class, and I was so stressed out about my taillight being out because I had to work until like 12 o'clock that night because I was working in retail. I was going to work at Kohl's. And then I had an hour commute home, and I was like, oh my God, like 17-year-old me was like, oh my God, am I going to get pulled over?
Yeah. Worried about it.
What's going to happen? Am I going to cause a wreck because I don't have a taillight? So nobody's going to know if I'm merging. Oh my God. So, I didn't know what to do. I text my dad. I text my boyfriend. I was like, what do I do? So then this is also another silver lining. My dad didn't know that I was dating somebody at the time.
Ooh.
Because he's a little bit older than me, and So that's an interesting part of the story. So he's a mechanic, so he could fix my taillight,
Right.
but I couldn't tell my dad. So my dad was like, just take it to a shop and have it fixed. I'm like, I don't have time. Like, I don't have the money or the time. Like,
Right,
I'm a
right.
broke college kid. When I texted my boyfriend, he was like, oh, he worked in Paso at the time. He was like, oh, I'll fix it. And I was like, okay. So he came and met me in between my classes and he fixed my taillight. Well, I ended up being like 10 minutes late to class. I get to class and it shouldn't have been a problem because class took a while to start anyways. I get to the door and the door's locked and there's a note on the door and it says, sorry, we're on a field trip. And I was like, how did I not know there was a field trip? Well, this class was on Mondays and Wednesdays. On Monday, I had missed class because my friend locked her keys in her car and I had AAA. So I had to be with her to get her keys out. So I had missed class. So I didn't know there was a field trip. So now instead of it was a 3-hour long class. So now I had like 6 hours until I had to go to work.
Yeah.
Instead of just having like 3 hours to kill, I had 6 hours to kill. And I was like, damn, what am I going to do? So I went home.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So it was an hour commute. So I had to go home an hour. On my way home, I felt my steering wheel kept pulling to the right when I was going down the road. And I'm like, this doesn't feel right. But like as a kid,
at the moment, you're just kind of going, right?
Yeah. I'm like, just thinking about the next thing I need to get done. I feel like we rely on vehicles and technology. Yeah. Like, whereas like the old school mentality is like, there's something wrong. Like, but now vehicles are so reliable, you just don't think about checking stuff like that.
Right.
So, to back up a little bit, when I had Brady, my boyfriend, fix my taillight, it was kind of my way. I was going to tell my dad that night that he had come through and help me.
Introduction.
Yeah, like kind of try to introduce him to my boyfriend and show that he's like an amazing person. Anyways, so I went home, got some chores done, changed for work, and I was on my way back to work. And that's when my tire, which ended up being low, and that's why my truck was pulling, blew out. So
it literally blew out. It wasn't so much that it was low that kept pulling you. It just eventually had enough and then blew out.
So it's a thing with low tires, which like hopefully anybody listening to this, check your tires if they're low.
Yes.
Because so many things can go wrong. But a huge thing that happens is they blow out when they're low. I don't know exactly what causes it, but ever since my accident, I've had all kinds of people tell me like, oh, that's happened to me. I just wasn't going as fast. So nothing happened. So it was my right rear tire. So it blew out. My truck went sideways and rolled 6 times. I didn't have my seatbelt on. So I was ejected out of the driver's side window and the truck landed on top of me. So there's all kinds of silver lining in all of this. If they had said if I had my seatbelt on, I would have died because my roof caved in, completely collapsed right where my head would have been.
Wow.
So there's that. The fact that we think that the truck landing on top of me is what caused my back injury. So I sustained a T10 burst fracture to my vertebrae. And what happened was my vertebrae literally, just like it sounds, it burst and little fragments of it went into my spinal cord. And our spinal cords are so sensitive that anything like that, just like it basically, it's like a trauma response. It just cuts everything off from there down. Yeah. So from my belly button down, I just lost all function and feeling. Back to the story though. So I'm laying there under my truck. I know. Sorry, I laugh. I just like when I think about like everything I've been through, now it's kind of like a lighthearted feeling I get. Right. But it's just crazy to think like what I went through. Yeah. So I'm laying there under my truck. I don't know if you know Halone Road. Yeah. So that's where my accident was. So it's kind of like
it looked familiar because I saw the photos and it's like, I was like, I know that area.
Yeah. It was almost to the turnoff for, like, do you know where the Play-Doh store is? Yeah. So it was like right there. So, by the grace of God, somebody heard the accident. His name's Tommy. And, he lived in the trailer park right there. He heard it and he said, something just told him to go down there.
Yeah.
So he put his shoes on. He said he didn't even put socks on. And he ran down there, and sure enough, there was my accident. And between him and the first man that arrived on the scene, they knew who to call because there's a military base right there,
Right.
400 Liggett.
Yep.
They knew who to call to get paramedics and EMTs there. At this point, they had like volunteer firefighters there, and we live in such a small town, from such a small town.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the volunteer firefighters.
Oh, okay.
So that was like a whole other thing, is they were super traumatized by seeing somebody they knew almost die.
Right.
And they didn't even know if I was going to make it. I went to actually the one man, John Anthony, who has been amazing support to me through this whole journey. I think he's one of the main reasons that I survived, because he knew what to do. But I went to school with his kids, so it's kind of like, it was like hit his heart what I went through. But anyways, so I guess when a truck or anything lands on top of you, or you're pinned under something, they the paramedics, what they do is they get these airbags and they put them deflated under the vehicle or whatever, and then they inflate them and they lift the whatever off of you.
I think I've seen those with like semi trucks, I think.
Yeah, kind of
like
similar
airbags.
deal.
Okay, yeah.
So that was the plan, but I was losing a lot of blood. Oh, wow. And it was like I had severe burns from my antifreeze because it was dripping on me.
Yeah.
They kind of were panicking a little bit, and John Anthony said he had just like a cat's paw, like a tool in his pocket for some weird reason. He was like, I don't even know why that was there. Yeah. And he just started digging with it, and they got me out. Wow. Everybody was just like with their hands and everything, and they got me out that way. And I got life flighted to Natividad in Salinas. Yeah. And at this point, this story, man, just the way the events transpired, my boyfriend's coworker came to my scene of my accident because he was on his way home, because this was like later in the day. Yeah. And he was like, "Oh man, I know that truck." And so he called Brady and he was like, "Hey, when was the last time you talked to Ellie?" And he was like a couple, probably like 30 minutes to an hour ago, she's on her way to work. And he's like, "I think she's been in an accident." So my boyfriend and his dad, they were commuting together at the time, started going towards where my accident was, and they got into Lockwood, and my helicopter flew over.
And they knew.
So then they turned and started going towards Salinas. My dad was on his way home from work also, and he gets a phone call from a friend we had that had a, what do they call that? Like a police scanner?
A scanner.
Yeah.
So you could hear everything and kind of listening to things.
Yeah.
Scanner.
I think it's illegal to actually own one, but they had one. Yeah. And they called my dad and they're like, "Hey, Ellie's been in an accident." And my dad was like, "Oh, no kidding." My dad thought it was just like a fender bender. And he said something in his heart told him to go to the scene of the accident. Yeah. So he got there, and my helicopter was taking off when he got there. So anyways, my boyfriend and my dad are both on their way to the hospital. Don't know about each other. No. Okay. Yeah. So Brady, he had my dad's cell phone just in case something ever happened when we were hanging out. And he called my dad and he was like, "Hey, can I come in and see Ellie?" And my dad was like, yeah, he was cool about it. So Brady was literally my savior through that whole deal. He stayed with me every night, made sure my oxygen tube was in, because I had a collapsed lung. I had a broken back. I had severe burns. My ear was almost completely taken off. They had to like stitch behind it. Actually staple behind it.
Oh, because that first right away to staple?
Yeah. It was the worst. Staples are the worst. I mean, oh man. My entire back got stapled.
Oh, the whole
incision, which is like this long.
Yeesh.
Apparently my head also got stapled.
Really?
So I had a minor brain bleed, which I cannot believe I survived, like to like reflect on that. I mean, the amount of injuries I sustained and the amount of blood I lost and just everything. Like when I say everything happens for a reason and that God has a plan, like I was meant to survive that day.
For sure.
Like, brain bleed. Oh, and the fact that I didn't sustain a bad brain injury.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not brain dead.
Right.
You know, yeah, my legs don't work like they used to,
But you can fully have conversations and
yeah,
engage in a
I can
conversation.
still share my story and reach other people, which I think, like, I'm just thankful for that, you know?
Yeah.
What other injuries did I sustain?
Well, I think it's important too to highlight, to let the people know that it's a big truck. You know,
Yeah.
it was a
So,
big Ford. It was like 250,
F-250.
F-250.
Yeah.
So it's a big truck, you guys, just to paint that picture for them, you know?
Yeah. Landed on top of me.
Yeah.
We'll have to include pictures too,
Yeah.
because, I don't know who took pictures, but I'm glad they did, because I
Yeah.
can just like look back on that and really like it hits close to home, you know, that I did survive that, you know?
Do you get, not to interrupt the story or anything
No,
like
you're
that,
good.
do you get, when you look at those photos, is there a different way of looking at them, let's say 3 years ago as opposed to now?
Definitely. Oh my gosh. When I first saw them, I cried.
Yeah.
Even just talking about what had happened to me, I would cry. I get so depressed. And that's another thing that I'll like get into, but
Right.
yeah, for a long time.
That's what I think you're unique in that it's so cool that you can be so optimistic right now talking about everything the way you are, because it's shallow waters, I guess you would say, or sensitive topic for sure. And I want to be able to communicate and convey the stuff that you want to, with a serious tone,
Yeah, definitely.
but I do like that you make it comfortable enough to, giggle here and there. And,
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
I appreciate that too, because it makes it easier on myself,
Yeah.
too.
No,
But
it's a hard thing to hear.
it's definitely a hard thing to hear. And, but continue on with the story. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Anyways, yeah, so I was at Salinas Natividad Hospital. Thankfully, that was a new trauma center. And for the first, I'd say at least 24 hours, they didn't know if I was going to survive just because of the loss of blood. And they couldn't do my back surgery right away because I wasn't stable, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I still don't know a whole lot about surgeries and
Yeah.
stuff, even after everything I went through. But they needed to reinflate my lung, or however that works. Sorry, I sound stupid talking about this.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
Reinflate.
I needed to have like my oxygen levels back up. So that's
Yeah.
why I had oxygen tube. And then my blood, I had to get a blood transfusion, I think, before the surgery too.
Did you have any, speaking about the injuries, did you have any broken ribs at all either?
They don't think so. That wasn't really a priority. So a lot of things, which this was actually an interesting experience for me to go through, because I learned a lot about like what happens when people
With
go
the body
through,
and everything?
yeah,
Yeah.
and what happens when people go through trauma. So like
Right.
certain things, like I have glass still come out of my body all the
Really?
time, because that's just not a priority when you're almost dying.
Yeah.
They don't take care of stuff like that.
Yeah. If there's a hierarchy. For everything.
So I definitely had rib issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were any broken ones, but I definitely had like a rib popped out or something.
Yeah. The only reason why I asked that too, and not to cut you off again, I'm sorry.
No,
My
you're
sister
fine.
she was involved in an accident too, where she was ejected. Actually, the bridge, like before you're leaving King City, right before you get off Pine Canyon, you know
Yes.
that bridge that
Yes.
they're working on right now?
Yes.
She was in an accident right there.
Oh, no.
And the truck went off the bridge and she got ejected from the front too. And so the same thing happened to her. She had like cracked ribs and everything and collapsed lung. And she actually got flown out to, was it Fresno or Hanford, one of the two. But she got flown out there.
What, was this a while ago?
This was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, because Natividad is just now becoming a
Yeah.
trauma center.
Yeah. So yeah, for sure it was like Fresno. And I remember I want to say in maybe middle school, maybe not even high school, because it was my older sister.
Oh, okay.
So I was still in middle school at the time. And yeah, so that's what happened with her. And when she had her injuries, and I didn't even get to go see her either in the hospital, but I remember hearing that about with the tube in the lungs.
Yeah.
That's why I had asked about the ribs, because she has sustained her rib injuries as well.
man. Yeah.
And she had her hip issues and everything too.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
No, I always joke saying that my ribs and my collarbone injuries were like the worst pain, even over my back injury.
Really?
Yeah.
Because is it like a everyday type of thing, or is at that time, or how does that?
So I also fractured my collarbone,
Okay.
and normally they don't fix collarbones.
Yeah.
But they knew that I was going to have to go into intensive physical therapy and I would need my arms. So they fixed it, and you can see my scar.
Oh yeah. You know, my sister has all that too.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh
she's
my gosh.
actually that's why I'm worried because she's really self-conscious about that too.
Oh.
She doesn't like to makeup and or whatever.
Oh,
So that's
really?
why I was gonna ask too. Like, I'm
Yeah.
surprised you're so open to just show it like that.
Oh
You know?
man, dude. Have you seen my shoulder?
No, are you okay with showing this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, look, it's like all cut up.
Oh wow, yeah.
Because I think I went through my driver's side window, and I think that it just like shuddered all over my shoulder.
Okay.
Um, I'm not exactly happy about this.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, but I'm not embarrassed about it either because
That's good.
it's such a huge part of who I am. You know,
Yeah, no,
I
it's
feel
really
like,
healthy for you to embrace that and to
yeah,
just kind of be like, this is me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Haven't always been like that though.
Okay.
So yeah, this is where all the glass comes out of, is this side of my body,
okay.
which is really cruddy when that happens too. Anyways, yeah, so my collarbone, man, that hurt so bad. That surgery was so traumatic for me too. I still have pain here, and like my feeling is actually messed up right here too. Like some parts of my arm I can touch and not feel anything.
Wow.
It's so weird.
Weird, isn't it?
But anyways, yeah. So then I was in ICU for like 2 weeks. Worst experience I've ever had. Obviously you don't wish that on anybody, but losing, like, I was 17, like lost every ounce of privacy I had. Everybody got to see every part of me.
Right.
I wasn't, there was nothing cute about it, you know, like
Right.
it was an awful thing to go through. Blood. I had all kinds of dirt in my hair, and I couldn't take a shower because I had incisions, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
So it was like, I was just this nasty.
Do they have the incisions, the one where it's like they tell you it'll fall off on its own or go into its skin, or they have to individually take them off?
I only had one incision all of my incisions I had to have. So sorry, I'm like all over this.
No, you're fine.
This one, the stitches just dissolved.
Okay.
The one behind my ear, I had to have the staples removed. My back incision, I had to have the staples removed. And then there's one more thing I'm forgetting. Oh, I had a chunk of glass because it was bothering me while I was in rehab, taken out of my shoulder. It was like a big chunk of glass.
Oh, wow.
Not trying to brag or anything.
No, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's just, it's a lot to also, to take in, just hearing it all for the first time. So it's just, like I said, it's hearing all this and to see you where you're at right now. It's like, it just puts a smile on my face.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to have those stitches taken out too, which I don't do needles. I don't do blood.
Yeah.
So like, this was like
really traumatic.
I can't believe I went through.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I got taken by ambulance, which it wasn't like a emergency ambulance. It was just like a transportation ambulance. I guess they do that on the side.
Yeah.
Another thing I learned to San Jose.
Okay.
And I was at Santa Clara Valley Med for a month and a half, I think.
Oh, wow.
That experience was very dehumanizing. I remember, again, I'm 17. If you can like go back to when you were that old, how you would have felt in this situation. To take my first shower, they hoisted me onto this like cart that was literally just like hard plastic. And I had only a hospital gown on, which like those don't wrap all the way around. Yeah. They don't go in between your legs. Right. Like it's literally just like a sheet laying on top of you. They wheeled me out into the hallway where like anybody could come in, into this room that was just like all tile walls. It wasn't like a pretty tile. It was like a hospital like setting completely. Yeah. They literally, it felt like they took like a hose, like a garden hose, and like hosed me off. And like in between like washing my hair and like washing my body, they didn't have any water running on me or anything. So I'm like sitting there freezing. Oof. It was literally the most awful experience I've ever had. Wow. And like, I get it, they're just doing their job and they have their system, but that was just, that experience alone was so hard on me, as a young girl. And all of my friends were still in high school and like living their lives. And I was just felt like I had lost every part of me, every ounce of privacy.
It's a low. It's a low to be at, right?
Seriously. Again, my boyfriend was amazing through this entire experience. I don't have the best relationship with my parents, and they weren't exactly there a whole lot for me through this. But my boyfriend, his family, he stayed with me every single night, even in rehab. And like, I would just be sobbing. I remember just sobbing through the night, like trying to process everything that was going on. And he'd just like be there, like holding my hand and like helping me through that.
Yeah.
You know, I seem strong, but at that time, I don't know if I could have done it without him and my friends. Like, I'd have people, family and friends come and visit me constantly. My room was decorated. It was fall when this happened, September. So I love fall. So I had like pumpkins everywhere and stuff. So I'm very fortunate for that. You know, it's not like I'd like to think, I haven't exactly been through this journey on my own. And I feel like, being surrounded by people you love and who love you and support you is such a huge part of healing.
Right. Oh, I mean, just even not to say like it's not a thankfully or this type of thing, you know, because in a perfect world, obviously, we would never want this to happen.
Yeah.
But I think about that too now, or last year specifically in 2020 with COVID, when there was just like no one can go in, like with family.
God.
Like, how would have had the impact that it would have had on you potentially, you know, without all that, to just be there by yourself potentially is like,
No, so I've been saying, you know, obviously not everyone's as fortunate as I am. And some people do have to go through stuff like that alone.
Yeah.
And as soon as things open up more, I'm going to go into where I did rehab and like be there for people who, you know, don't have that support. Cause I feel like that's so important, to be in the right mindset and to like believe in yourself. You need, I don't know. I mean, maybe if I was a little bit older when the accident happened, I would have handled it better, on my own, but being 17
is so young, you know?
And I had so much growing up and maturing to do. I still do, you know, I'm not saying that I'm super grown up and mature now, but I,
17 to 17 though.
Yeah.
No, that's such a big thing. Like you said, you know, try putting myself in that situation too, where I mean, at that age too, you know, with all that together, it'd be a lot. I do want to ask though too, in that moment, like you said, when it was like the lowest of the lows, was there a moment that you can remember specifically where you were like, no, this is the low? Like where you sat and you're like, okay, I thought this was low and I thought this was bad, but this is like my lowest low.
Oh gosh. There's some things that I've been through that I don't even want to talk about.
Right.
I can't think of a specific moment, but I'd say, oh man, like it might have even been after I got home from the hospital. You know what? The day that I got home from the hospital, I moved back in with my dad, and I got home. My boyfriend took me home, and obviously life was completely different. It was like it was weird. It was like an out of body experience, like leaving home. Everything was completely normal that day. I went to work, and then I had no idea that when I would come back home, my entire life would be different. Yeah. Like leaving that driveway that day, like nothing would ever be the same when I would come back, you know?
Yeah.
So I got home and my dad had to do all kinds of remodeling to the house so that I could get in with a wheelchair.
Yeah, adjusting to everything.
Yeah. And everything was different. I remember because his house is like kind of up off the ground. So he had to build this big old ramp and I couldn't even get up it on my own. I needed help.
The raised foundation. This is the one where the ranch is at, you talking about?
Yeah, my dad's ranch. Yeah. And that was so hard on me because I'm the kind of person that likes to do everything on my own. Very independent. So I was like, man, this is different. And then even getting in the house, getting in the front door, I had to get over the threshold. And now you see me, I'm like, no big deal.
Yeah.
But at that time, this was so new, you know? But that night, I remember Brady had to go home because he was exhausted after being with me every night for like 2 months.
Almost 2 months, right? Jesus. Okay.
I was in bed. I went to bed at like 9. I was just laying in bed and I'm like, I can't even sit up on my own right now.
Wow.
Because that's where I was at as far as physically. And as soon as I sat up in bed, I had to put my back brace on.
Mm-hmm.
That went on for probably a month.
Yeah.
That was awful. I had no balance. If you can imagine not being able to use your legs for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember laying in bed and just sobbing and being like, my life is completely gone right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know how I'm ever going to come back from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so glad I'm not there anymore because that's such a scary place to be in.
Yeah.
But the reality is people feel that way even when their legs work, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody has
sure.
their lows. So it's like there's always going to be an excuse to feel unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's been a huge game changer for me is like, no, like there are unhappy people who cannot move their leg or who can move their legs.
Yeah.
Just like there's unhappy people who can't. Like everybody has something going on in their life.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be a reason to be unhappy. So like, don't waste your life like that,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, no, and that's I asked that for a reason. It really not the intentions is not to obviously get you to get to emotion and to feel like that. It was really just because it's something that I feel is important for people to hear because they might think that to themselves, but they might not, or they might struggle with being able to express themselves and or understand it from a person who's like yourself, who's been there, done that, So I just feel like it'd be a good thing for people to hear, because I come from, not that I say that I come from, but I know people who, who think like that too, like I said, but just they don't talk about it enough, or I feel like it doesn't get highlighted enough. So it's definitely a good message, and it all comes with, like I said, what you're doing and your message for everything of, my walk for faith. I wanted it to. I wanted to talk about that too. Actually, before we get into that too, going back to what you were saying, anything else you want to wrap up with that?
That's basically the gist of the story.
Okay.
I mean, obviously my life has evolved since then, but I mean, that kind of goes with my whole platform now.
Right.
So we can get into it then.
Yeah. So the my walk for faith. So it's, I remember you posting about, being told you're never going to walk again.
Yes.
How is that? Like, I just try to put myself in your shoes and just I don't know how I would react. You know what I mean? I don't know how I would take that. I don't know how I would I wouldn't know what my response would be, So being told you're never going to walk again, what was, so two questions. What was the first thing that came to mind? And what was the very next follow-up with that?
Okay. So I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Yes.
I was very drugged when they told me I was never going to walk again.
Okay.
But I still had to cope with it.
Right.
I mean, at some point I got out of that high.
Mm-hmm.
No, but really, I have heard stories of the doctor coming out of my room and all of my family sitting there in the waiting room, friends and family.
Yeah.
And him saying, she's never going to walk again.
Wow.
And like, to put this, I'm sorry, I look at everything positively.
Yeah, for sure.
So, at that point in time, they didn't even know if I was going to make it. So when he came out and said that, it was kind of like, okay, she's okay.
Right.
Like she's still going to be here.
Okay.
And so like that was kind of like the biggest thing I could take out of that is, it's okay. I'm not dead. Mm-hmm. I'm still here. And, hearing people tell me that helped because they lived through those hours, where they didn't know if I was going to make it. So that helped me cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the kind of person where, if I need to get something done, I just put my head down and get it done. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what I did with this injury when I was in rehab for a month. Mm-hmm. I just put my head down and got through it. It was like I had like literally 6 different therapies I had to do. I had to do speech therapy because I had a brain injury. Yeah. I had to do occupational therapy, which is like daily household things like brushing your hair. Okay. Sitting up in bed. I had actual physical therapy. Mm-hmm. I had a wheelchair therapy, which was like learning how to use my wheelchair. Right. Physical therapy was like learning how to get out of bed. Like mobility? Yeah. Okay. Again, they don't focus on moving your legs at all. Yeesh. They're basically like, forget about your legs. Like, wow. Which is so sad because, obviously I spend a good chunk of my time learning how to walk again now.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell people, you know, I wish that somebody had told me to jump into that faster, because when your body goes through trauma, the faster that you can get into moving again, the better.
Right.
So like when I was talking to your wife earlier and she was saying, I wish I had done physical therapy.
Yeah.
Because your body will atrophy and it'll you'll start compensating when you have pain. And like for me, my body just like my brain shut off to my legs.
Wow.
And if I had made, you know, those nerves and stuff, if I had started using them sooner, I would have hoped, you know, that they would have come back sooner. But instead of having to do this like long journey.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, the science is there. So I wish that they didn't just make you forget about your legs in therapy. And that's one thing that I do want to go and like talk to people about in rehab. I want to be like, all right, listen here. This is possible. You know, you have to, it's going to be hard and you have to be tough, but it's possible, you know? Sorry. What was the question?
No, it's just, like I said, it's just the journey that just trying to, you know, hearing that you're never going to walk again, like trying to compute that, trying to understand that, your initial thought. And, you know, you did expand upon as far as where you went to next, which is just, I'm going to focus on this. And I'm, you know, and it comes back to being headstrong. And also, I think there's more to that. I think it's more than just being headstrong. I think it's a positive mental capacity to understand that and to be able to, you know, essentially reciprocate that and be like, I'm going to turn this into a positive and I'm going to make it to where I can eventually walk and have that message, you know?
My life motto, I swear, is perspective is everything. Because literally any situation in life, perspective is everything.
Correct.
Because you can look at it as being negative. I'm the first person to be like, oh, our car broke down on the side of the road. Well, maybe we were going to get in an accident. And maybe God was like, nope, your car's breaking down. I'm going to save you, you know? Anyways, I'd say that after going through rehab for a month and getting home is when it finally started to hit me that I wasn't going to walk again. Or, you know, that was the new reality I had to live with. Because I was back being in rehab and in the hospital. It was a place I had never been before. So it was almost like living in a dream.
And this is all within like 6 months, right? Jeez. Less than that, right?
I wish insurance doesn't cover enough time for you to learn how to live in a wheelchair. Because it's a lot of adjusting. But yeah, they covered like a month and a half. So I had my accident September 13th and I was discharged to go home October 28th.
Wow.
So it was a very short.
Yeah.
It felt like forever. Not gonna lie.
Jeez.
But yeah. So when I got out of this nightmare, like I said dream, but it was more like a nightmare that I was living in, just like this different reality. And I got home to my everyday life that I had lived since I was a young kid. That's when it hit me. And I was like, oh no, absolutely nothing is going to go back to the way that it was.
Your life has changed forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was telling you that moment where I was just laying in bed, like, oh my God, everything is different. I remember, this is stupid, but my stepmom had rearranged my room when I got home from the hospital just to make it easier on me.
Right.
Because I was in a wheelchair now. And I just that alone, like going into my room and it being completely different
you hated
was
it?
Like, it was just like
a why type of thing?
It was one thing that wasn't familiar anymore.
Right.
It was the one thing that I had hoped would be familiar and it wasn't. Because like I said, my dad he redid the bathroom. Gotcha. He redid the ramp to get into the house. He put in a gate so I could get in the yard. Like there was all these things that were not the same. And I just wanted like something that was familiar and like nothing was familiar anymore.
Jeez. Yeah. No, yeah, that is a big thing too. Cause at the end of the day, it's a comfort thing. You want to get home and feel comfort or feel some sense of like normalcy, you know?
Exactly.
And then it's just to have it switched up. Jeez. Yeah. So I brought up earlier this journey that you have and starting, you know, my walk for faith, going from not, you know, essentially being told you're not going to be able to walk to now, building up this message, I safe to say, right?
Yeah, definitely.
How did you even
Start that.
Start that. Yeah. Cause like, I'm just, like I said, I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes and be like, to me, that'd be like the last thing I'd want to think about. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But how did that come about?
Okay. So I'm a believer, and I have always felt this like calling. I know that everybody's put on this planet to do a purpose. And it was always kind of like, I didn't know. Okay. When I had my accident, my college degree was plant science.
Okay.
Because I mean, growing up in the Salinas Valley, the salad bowl of the world, I grew up in FFA. I grew up on a ranch riding horses. Yeah. I wanted that job in ag because that was what I was passionate about. And God was like, no, this is not your purpose. You're not going to do what I want you to do through ag. You have a greater calling. And for that, I'm so thankful. But yeah, I just felt like this little voice in my head that was like, you need to tell your story.
Yeah.
You need to put yourself out there, because that was kind of like the good. I was able to turn it from bad to good, was like, I can actually help people with this. I don't remember exactly. There was a moment where I helped somebody or I said something to somebody and I was like, wait, I can actually like, I have things to say that people want to hear.
Yeah. And speak their language, right?
Yeah. So, one day I was just like reading my Bible, or I was like, you know how like on Instagram, Pinterest, there'll be like little like quotes. Yeah.
Inspirational quotes.
I think I had a quote come up that was like, it was 2 Corinthians 5:7. We walk by faith, not by sight. And I was like, wait a second.
It clicked right away.
Yeah. I'm like, that is literally my entire life right now, because I'm literally having to put all of my trust in God and not in myself. You know, like society tells me that I'll never walk again and I'll never live the life that I lived. And, you know, everybody that's going through this injury, they're unhappy. And like, I want to believe that, you know, my life is over and I'm just going to be disabled the rest of my life. But my faith in God has put me in this different perspective where I'm like, I don't see him, and it's not like, I mean, that's what faith is, you know, it's a belief in what we don't see.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, that verse, I literally like my mind like exploded. I was like, oh my gosh,
that's amazing.
That spoke to my heart so strongly. And I was like, man, this is my calling. So I'm like, how can I incorporate this into something where I can reach people? And that's where I came up with, for me, it's my walk for faith, because I'm striving for that sharing of faith and also growing my own faith through this journey. And
it's such a positive thing. And I admire that so much. There's a term, I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but it's a big thing. It's called trauma bonding. So essentially, I don't want to like, you know, butcher it, but essentially it's like, there's a certain, like if I were to talk to you, or if I talk to you about, or if me and you were in an accident, right?
Okay.
Both of us, right? And there's like a third person and we're talking to them about it and we're trying to compete with them. It's a different way of communication as opposed to where if me and you talk individually, meaning like there's a certain connection, relatability, because we've been there, done that. Okay. And we understand each other on a different level.
Okay.
Right. So
yes, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. So they call it trauma bonding. I could compute it kind of like the same thing, not to make it about me or anything like that, but being in the military, there's a certain connection you have with people who are also in the military, the way you can talk to them and relate to them. Okay. It's like you have that bond, right? Yeah. So for that, there's a term that they use called trauma bonding. And the reason why I say I admire that you have this message and this essentially a campaign you got going on is because you're giving a voice for people who don't necessarily have the voice. You're providing and being a voice for people who maybe might feel belittled or, you know, maybe a little bit too shy to talk about these certain things. Yes. And that's how they can be able to gravitate towards you. So
I love that.
Trauma bonding.
No, seriously. I can't believe I didn't know that word, because that is exactly a huge part of my platform. Is like, I get so many messages and it literally keeps me going, where people are like, your story is so inspiring to me, or like they'll even just ask me questions and I'm like, I want to be that person that I needed when I was first injured. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, that like I mean, like I said, I was that's why I reached out to you. I told you like I'm inspired by your story. You know, I'm not in an accident or anything like that, but it's like it's just you have this pull towards you, and it's infectious. It's everything. So yeah.
That's so sweet.
No
Thank
worries, no
you.
worries.
I'd say when I first, and I tell this story a lot because this is a huge part of who I am today and how I got to where I am today. When I first created, it just started with my Instagram account, My Walk for Faith.
Yeah.
I was not in the mindset that I am now. I knew where I wanted to be, but it was almost like this false reality that I was living because I was so depressed inside and nobody knew that I was struggling except for my close friends and my boyfriend because I've always just hidden that from people. And I'm glad that I like pushed through and was still creating my platform and stuff, but my heart wasn't in it because I was struggling myself. And I don't even know what the breaking point was for me, but I would just lay in bed crying constantly and just like feeling sorry for myself. I wanted so bad. Like I still have, bad moments
Right. Yeah.
because I'm like, man, I just want to go for a hike with my legs,
Yeah.
not with my wheelchair. There's just places I can't go and things I can't do because of my wheelchair. But I think the perspective thing is what really started changing my life. I wish I could say that there was one thing or moment that I had that changed it, but I think it was just really realizing that this is not where I want to be. I know I've been talking about Brady a lot, but he was like sitting me down and he was like, you are so unhappy right now. And like, it was hard for him to see me like that. And he's like, I know you've been through a lot, but like, you can't keep living like this.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was one of my biggest moments where I was like, dang, the person that I love the most and knows me the best is like telling me like,
this isn't you.
Yeah.
Right.
And he could see me hurting and I'm like, damn, I thought I was hiding it good,
Yeah.
And that's when I just started pulling myself out and I'm like, okay. So I start looking into like ways to improve yourself mentally.
Self-care.
And I wish I had seen like a therapist or something, but I was too prideful to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Which now that stigma is definitely getting broken.
Yeah.
And I think that would have helped me a lot sooner on.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have got there sooner, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
But so I just started looking at, like, I'd wake up every morning and find something that I was thankful for. So the number one thing that I always tell people is I'm thankful for my hands.
Yeah.
Because so easily I could have gotten a neck injury. And I know so many people where they don't have hand function.
Yeah.
And my hands are my freedom. I can drive. I can go on a walk. I can make dinner. I can go to the bathroom on my own. I can take a shower because I have my hands.
Right.
Where so many people don't have that. And so like just that alone, like if I can't think of anything when I wake up, I'm thankful for my hands.
No, yeah, for sure.
Because, oh my gosh. Again, I probably could have found a better perspective in that situation too, but I feel like I've gotten to where I am because I have little things going for me,
No, it is true. You are right about that. And I wanted to actually talk about that too. And I wanted to get into, your everyday lifestyles and everything. And it's good that you brought up your hand movements and everything, because I was going to ask you about, it's just crazy to say too, you can still drive.
Yeah.
And then like, it's crazy. You can literally still drive.
No, and like it blows everybody's mind.
You have this tool, right?
Yeah. So,
what is that tool?
So they're called hand controls.
Hand controls.
They make so many different kinds of hand controls because just like everything in life, everybody has a preference. I started off, it's actually a funny story. My boyfriend went back to work and he was in a bike shop and the guy was like, "Where have you been, dude? I haven't seen you in like a month." And he's like, told him the deal with me, and he's like, "No kidding." I guess it was like his cousin or something was a paraplegic and had hand controls and he didn't need them anymore. He's like, "I got a box of hand controls in the back." So he gave us them. Cool. So I kind of like started learning how to drive with those, but I didn't like them because riding horses my whole life, I've always held the reins with my left hand. I'm like, had
me thinking too.
Yeah. Right? I've always held the reins with my left hand so you can like rope and stuff with your right hand. And so driving, I always am left-hand dominant.
Mm-hmm.
So the hand controls were on my left side, and I like to hold the steering wheel with my left side.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, the way those ones worked is it's like two levers that go down to the brake pedal and the gas pedal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a little like Velcro strap that holds them up so they don't like land on your legs. And then you just push it for brake, and then you pull it for gas, if I remember correctly, on the left side. Did not like those at all. So I forget where I found the ones that I have now. I ended up buying them on Amazon or eBay, but you can get permanent ones put in, and they're like really expensive, like thousands of dollars.
Ooh, wow.
And I'm like, yeah, maybe not. Plus, I have this like weird mindset where I'm like, I'm not getting permanent anything because this isn't permanent, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna get out of this situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the ones that I have now, same deal. It's a lever that goes to, or a lever that goes to the brake pedal and the gas pedal. They're on my right side. So I hold them with my right hand, and they have these little like clamps that go on the pedals, and you tighten them down with wing nuts. So they literally come off in like seconds. And you can put them on in seconds. I can put them in any vehicle. But yeah, so if you can imagine, I hold one lever with my hand, and then there's like one of the levers comes to like a point, and there's like a button on top. So I like push the button for gas, and then in my like lower fingers, then I have the other pedal, which is brake. So I can like brake and gas at the same time, and they're connected, but they're not like, they don't affect each other.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
That's such an adjustment, right?
I know. No, seriously. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Basically, I'm super used to it now, but in the beginning, it was very weird. On top of the fact that I had all kinds of PTSD, which I still struggle with, but it's a lot better. Thankfully, my mind reacted to the accident. My trauma response was forgetting everything. So I don't remember. The last thing that I remember was losing control of my truck. I don't remember being stuck under it or anything like that. I don't remember anything past the point of losing control. So my PTSD kicks in whenever like my car gets squirrely at all. I panic bad.
Right.
Because that's the feeling I remember was just like that like jolt off the road.
Right.
And so that's very traumatizing for me. But
was there an adjustment? I mean, going from a back seat to a passenger seat, or did you just jump into it right away? Or how does that work?
As far as like learning how to drive again?
No, just because you were saying like even just like the movement, you know, having like a PTSD from that. I'm just curious to see like if it was like maybe at first you were like, okay, maybe I can baby step back, getting back into a car. Maybe if I'm in the back seat, you know, as opposed to like if you're in the front, you get like the front view. You're not driving, but you're in the passenger seat. Maybe it amplifies it more. Anything like that, or did you just like, I'm gonna go in?
Wow. Okay. So I wish I would have thought of that, because I had severe PTSD for like, at least a year.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I would ride obviously in the passenger seat. I didn't start driving until like 2 years after my accident, because I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Driving. I remember the first time I got in a car was during recreational therapy, which was another therapy I had to do in rehab. They took me outside and they put me in a car and they drove me down the street to frozen yogurt. And I literally I think I even cried. It was so traumatic for me because I just don't trust vehicles. I didn't trust vehicles at that time. Right. I still have moments where I'll get severe anxiety attacks. If we're driving on a windy road, and go off the road at all, I just lose it.
What about the noise from, when you veer off and they have the bumps?
Yes, definitely.
That's what does it?
No. So Halone Road doesn't have anything like that.
Oh, okay.
It's when we veer off the road on, usually if a road is windy, it's usually a back road.
Right. And
there's no shoulder. So hitting the dirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that feeling is what gets me.
And it's crazy. You just drove from Kingston, essentially 3.5 hours over here,
Yeah.
It's such an improvement. It's just crazy to hear that, to be now you're in Sacramento.
Yeah. No, seriously. No, seriously, I've come so far. But yeah, like I was saying, I still get a little bit of anxiety. But I kind of just like toughed it out and like got through it. I think a huge part of PTSD is you don't realize that that's what it is until you like really have somebody else notice it. So like for me, it was like, oh, I'm just like very extra when people go off the road.
Yeah.
You know, like
No,
I'm
for
just
sure.
like really dramatic. And then like I had to realize like, oh no, this is actually a reaction to what I've been through, you know?
Yeah.
It's a trauma reaction. So that's like that was a huge learning experience for
sure.
me.
Yeah. No, it's just like I said, it's crazy to like I said, to even think and consider that you're right back at the driving, which I think is really cool.
Thank you.
I wanted to talk about too, just your everyday routine, like your everyday lifestyle. What are the ins and outs of everything? I know when we spoke, you said you were, traveling back and forth between Fresno and King City for your therapy and everything. And I'm curious to see like what's the difference between, well, not essentially the difference, but your everyday lifestyle from being at home and then your therapy sessions. Like how does all that work?
Yeah. Okay. So, SCI Fit is this amazing company that specializes with my type of injury. So spinal cord injuries, neurological disorders. So like I was telling you, when I got out of the hospital, it was all wheelchair, wheelchair, wheelchair. You're never going to walk again. And I, from the get-go, had that mindset, like, no, I got this. But I didn't really have that mindset because like I was telling you, I was in a negative place. I'd say going to SCI Fit has really helped me drag myself out of that hole because the whole mentality there is so positive. And I know like when I was telling you, like when we were trying to arrange a place to meet, I was like, I put PT/gym because it's not technically a physical therapy place. Even though that's exactly what they're doing, it's not covered by insurance because insurance looks at you as wheelchair bound for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So everything that I do there is out of pocket, which is super unfortunate. But yeah, it's worth it for me. I've done all kinds of fundraisers and I've had amazing support from our community in King City and family members. That's when I don't know if you've seen on my Instagram, I started designing t-shirts and selling them for physical therapy.
And you have the website up too, right?
Yeah.
Is it pre-order still, or you can order the whole thing now?
You can order now because I have I have a connection now. Just kidding.
You got a plug?
Yeah, I got the plug. But so I started going there in 2019. I didn't know what to expect because I was new to this injury. I'm like, what is this place going to be like? But they are so understanding and so helpful there. And they were the first people where when we sat down, I remember in the break room for our like consultation and the main physical therapist, Steve, was like, so like, what are your goals? And I'm like,
I'm going to walk.
I want to walk again.
Yeah.
And he was the first person that didn't look at me like I was crazy. And he was like, all right, let's do this, you know? And I was literally like,
oh, that's amazing.
Wow. Up until that point, everybody had been like, come on, Ellie, like, really?
That's so motivating too. I mean,
seriously, to have somebody that believes in you and has seen it happen too was a huge thing for me because they deal with this injury, like I said, all the time. So they had just opened their Fresno branch when I started going there. And when I say everything happens for a reason, the connections that I've made and the people that I've met just through going to physical therapy there has been amazing. So I was going there 2 days a week for a while, like a good long while, like a year. And then I started realizing, this takes a lot more effort than what I'm putting in. This is like a full-time job. Rewiring your nerves and your brain is like crazy thing to do.
I mean, I see just the exercises and the machines you're on and it just that process, The
science behind it is really interesting, like with neuroplasticity and stuff. But so I made this like decision that I needed to do this every day. So that's when I made the move. It was about a year ago because our 1 year lease in our apartment is going to be up here soon. But anyways, I got an apartment with my best friend who has been super supportive through the whole thing. Super thankful for her. So that helped too, you know, having like a little home away from home.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just started going every day. So that's kind of my routine right now. I go to physical therapy like 4 days a week. I get up in the morning, I do like an hour or two of a session, a paid session. And then I use this thing called the FES bike, which basically contracts your muscles. So like my muscles don't contract normally, obviously, from my belly button down. So it like helps me reconnect in that aspect. And it also helps keep my legs from atrophying, which is like a huge thing. Like you'll see like my legs are not atrophied at all.
Oh, okay.
Which like I could even like show you pictures. Some people really struggle with that. So that's a whole nother thing that I'm so thankful for. But if it wasn't for me making that leap into physical therapy, I would not be where I am at today. So I can stand up now. Yeah. Which like, I know it sounds like so minor and so minimal, but like they told me I would never get to do that again. And the fact that I can just like hold on to two things and like stand up is like the best feeling in the entire world. Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm still shooting for higher dreams, but like if that was the only thing I got back, I would be so happy and so fortunate. Like seriously. And then also through physical therapy, I got, I can like pick up my toes, which is like a huge thing. Yeah. What else can I do?
There was one machine too, where you were like pushing outward, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
so I definitely,
is that like hip flexors type of thing, or what is that?
What do they call that? Abductor.
Abductor. Okay.
Is that a muscle?
I think it sounds like it. No, yeah, it is. It is actually. Yes, I know what you're talking about. It's near the groin, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So we have the hip glute machine there, which works out your hip and your glute. And then the adductor is the one you're thinking of, because I know exactly what you're thinking of.
I saw that one. Yeah.
My movement in my legs has just like grown and grown. But yeah, so I like can move my legs. Usually if there's no gravity working against me, so like right now I can't just like pick up my leg because like I have all this like gravity pulling me down. So the movements are minimal, but they're there.
But you can literally get in and out of a car by yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm super fortunate for that alone.
Yeah.
Also, I have a really strong upper body. Not trying to brag. But yeah, so I've gotten all these improvements from going to SCI Fit, and I'm so thankful for that. But it's like this whole, like I was saying, like it's a job. So I even go home and work out. Like crawling is a huge part of my recovery because it's like, it sounds stupid, but like just like a baby, you have to learn how to crawl before you can walk. Like it has helped me so much. So when I'm home, I crawl. I have my own FES bike at home. I stand at home. What else do I do at home? I do all of the above, you know? Yeah. And like, I'm going to continue doing that until I reach my goals. As far as going to physical therapy, my time is kind of coming to an end because
the lease is ending and everything.
Our lease is ending, which my roommate's actually going to stay another year because she goes to Fresno State. Okay. But I'm so homesick. It's not even funny. But I'm to a point now, because I remember when we were talking, me and my boyfriend, about me moving to Fresno, he was like, well, I can help you at home. And I'm like,
it's not the same.
No, it's not the same. But I was like, okay, like let's give it a try. And we have a walker at home, and he stood me up, and I didn't have that lockout in my legs, and he dropped me.
Oh my God.
And I didn't like get hurt or anything, but it was kind of like, I just need to make a little bit more improvements before I can do therapy at home completely.
I got you. Yeah.
So I feel like I've gotten to that point where I can like work from home.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm excited to like be back home. I'll still go to physical therapy, but not 4 days a week, you know?
No, yeah. Do you have, I don't know if it's a way, but like, do you have a percentage in mind? Like say 100% being like, you're fully back.
Okay.
Do you have like is there like a metric or something like where you're at right now? Like, how would you say you're like would you say you're 20% there, 30% there?
To where I want to be, or
yes,
to 100%
to where you
back?
Want to be, yeah.
Okay. Because, you know, I realize that being completely back to normal is kind of unrealistic. But like, I'm cool with that. If I could literally just like stand up out of my wheelchair and take some steps on my own,
wow,
I would be happy.
yeah,
Because like that alone would be breaking the odds, but also
yeah.
just like being able to like stand up and grab something out of a top shelf or like, you know,
Reaching for the tools, because I know you're still working on the cars and everything.
yeah,
right?
yeah, that's a huge part for
That's
me.
a big part.
Yeah, like, so my end goal isn't what you would think. Like, I'm not striving for craziness, but I do want to get to a point where I can just walk unassisted.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm like 20% there.
And that, yeah, that's so, that, even then though too, it's so good. Like, that's a win, you know?
Seriously.
Seriously,
like yeah. To think that I was never supposed to get that back. Oh, and then like my most recent thing is I can feel my stomach now.
Oh, okay.
So like, I was laughing with my roommate the other day. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Did you get sore
Yeah, like
from laughing?
no.
Oh, I thought you'd be like, oh my
No,
God.
we were laughing. We went out to dinner and I had put some pants on that were too tight. And like normally it's no problem because like I don't have sensation below my belly button. And like along with that, like it's not just like sensation. It's like I don't feel my organs below.
Gotcha.
So it's like internally too.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I can feel my stomach now. It's like not completely like to the touch on the outside. It's like I can feel my insides though. Like I can feel like when I go like that now where I couldn't before.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, my pants were too tight and I was sitting there at dinner and I was like, oh my God, my stomach is cramping. I was like, I haven't felt this bad in so long. But I'm like, okay, again, perspective is everything.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm so thankful that I have feeling in my stomach now because that opens a whole new level of things I can get back.
No,
you know?
that's cool. Just hearing that, just being like, I'm so thankful to have cramps.
No,
like,
seriously.
you know? Meanwhile, everybody else is like, no, don't.
Yeah, seriously.
No, man, that's amazing. And obviously, I'm not trying to make fun of the situation or anything like that.
No,
it's
don't
just
please.
the humor in it. So, man, like I just, I wanted just a little bit more. I wanted to talk about you being the car enthusiast that you are too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even
And-
get to my home life.
No, yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's fine. I just it's so telling to me just to know that, you know, essentially you were in this really big traumatic accident involving vehicles and involving trucks and cars, yet you're so like, nah, I'm gonna work on this car, or I'm
Okay.
gonna get in and out of this car. You
Oh
know?
my gosh, that's so funny.
You have a Nova, like, you know.
That is so funny that you say that because I have never looked at it like that.
Really, yeah.
But somebody brought that to my attention the other day because I always get like people responding to my Instagram stories and stuff like crazy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't even bother, like if it's just like a reaction or something.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Somebody said, or they might have even commented on one of my videos and they were like, I'll have to try and find that and show it to you because it was funny. He was like, isn't it ironic that you decide to work on cars now that you almost got killed from a car? And I was like, dang, dude, I never
like,
looked at it like that.
Damn, bro, hold on. Like,
Seriously, like this just got deeper
Yeah.
than I was expecting on this
I'm
post.
over here just trying to stand up, and you just hit me with that one. Like, Jesus. But that, you know, but it is a thing. I mean, I just think it's you know, I just think it's so cool that you're back in it with the cars. You can literally get in and out of a car. You can drive. I've seen you like on the horse again, and you know, getting back to a sense of normalcy. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the thing that I realized with the horses, because that has been my life as long as I can remember, is horseback riding.
Yeah.
When you can't feel your legs or move your legs, it's super sketchy.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like on a whole nother level. And I need so much assistance to ride that it wasn't completely worth it to me. It was very freeing to get back on a horse again because, you know, it's like, I don't know, you know, like people say, once you learn how to ride a bike, you know how to do it the rest of your life. So like I got on a horse again and I was like, dang, like, yeah, this is completely different, but like, this is a great feeling because that used to be my release, you know, was to go out and ride. So it was like, it was good for my confidence to just be like, yeah, I did that, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously my life took a different direction.
You didn't have I'm sorry to interrupt. You didn't have, there wasn't no trust issues with like, with the horse itself, or you just like, these are my horses, or, you know, like, I'm just, you know, 'cause you don't know how they're going to react and how they're going to be, you know?
No, seriously. So my horse was the first horse that I got on after my accident, and he was so chill. And like, he wasn't the prettiest horse, but he was so like rock solid.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we unfortunately, I know he was good. He taught me like everything I know. But yeah, we had to put him down in 2019, I think.
Oh, okay.
And that was really hard on me, but it was also kind of like it was like a ending of an era, if that
Like a
makes sense.
chapter that closed.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, we had so many good memories together, and now my life is taking a different direction, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that's kind of how I looked at it. But
good,
my boyfriend's grandmother got a horse, and I was like, oh no.
Here he goes.
And she was like, please ride him, like, and my father-in-law was like definitely willing to help me. So the three of us went out. She was riding one day. She's like, go get Ellie. I want her to ride. So they brought me out, and it was so sketchy.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine.
So like my horse was rock solid, and her horse is rock solid, but in a different way. Like he's younger and just a little bit more spunky. So my boyfriend had me like he like picked me up and was trying to swing my leg over, and he was not having it. So that was when I realized that, it's not worth injuring myself again.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because like anything can go wrong in any situation.
Yeah.
Like you could be driving down the road and get rear-ended. It's not even you.
Walk down the street and something happened.
Yeah, you could be doing everything right and something will still go wrong. And I think that goes back to, everything happens for a reason. But either way, it was a stress that I didn't need in my life.
Yeah.
So, ironically, I drive still and almost died in a car accident. So that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, so my boyfriend's a mechanic, and he loves working on like restoring classic cars.
Yeah.
He's a drag racer. And that's his passion. So I'm like, might as well get into
Might as well
something.
make it mine too.
And I kid you not, it's like a bug. Like once you get bit by that bug, like I literally will be driving down the road and I'm like, oh my God, there's a Camaro in that guy's barn.
Once
like,
you see it.
Yeah.
What's going on over there?
Yeah, I'm like driving, like trying to pay attention to the road, but I'm like, oh, there's a junkyard. Like it's a thing. Like I never thought I'd be where I am today with that, but
that's amazing.
It's cool to like. I feel like so many people think that you need to have your own thing in a relationship, but I feel like that's true, and you should have your own things. But I feel like one of our biggest strengths in my relationship with Brady is like we're willing to do things that we both love together, and like that's like amazing, Yeah,
I mean it's bonding at the end of the day, right?
And like we both like we want everything the same in life. Like we're headed in the same direction, and like so our goal is to we want to open our own business. He's an amazing welder, so we kind of have that in mind, or like a fabrication shop.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be like the moneymaker, right? But then like a dream job would be opening like a hot rod shop and like restoring cars for people.
Oh, that'd be cool.
But I mean, like if you look at like what cars are worth nowadays, it's crazy, especially ever since like it's almost like quarantine brought out like all of the recreational side of people.
Oh yeah.
So like it's hard to buy trailers right now. It's hard to buy car parts. It's hard to buy wood because like, you know what I'm saying? So, restoring a classic car when you don't know what you're doing and like, so you have to pay somebody to do it. It's so expensive.
Oh, it's so pricey. So just like, the parts alone. Yeah.
So like our thing is like, it would be cool to like restore cars for people, but make it cheap. So like not make them super beautiful, but get them to a point where they're, they're not salvaged, they're not like in a wrecking yard, like actually out on the streets, like where someday when somebody has more money, they can really fix them up, but just get them to a point where they're not going to get crushed or ruined anymore,
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of like our goal with that. Obviously that has absolutely nothing to do with my injury, but
no, that's a good insight for a lot of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like it's so important for people to find not only what makes them happy, because I feel like nowadays people spend way too much time doing jobs and owning businesses and like being in relationships that don't make them happy. And like, I feel like life is way too short for that. Way too short. Yeah. Like seriously.
You can attest to that. Yeah.
No, seriously. Exactly. And, finding things that make you happy, finding things that you can do, because I feel like that's a huge part of it too. As much as my heart would love to be out riding horses and like doing rodeo and stuff, I can't.
Right.
And like, that's okay. Like find something that you can do that will still make you equally as happy. So that's kind of where I am with my car passion.
Yeah,
So,
no, like I said, that's such a positive mind state, I guess you
yeah,
say.
seriously.
That's so good. So, that's great. I want to, we're getting ready to wrap this up, and I wanted to just get your perspective, I should say, or just give you a chance to like have your open floor and just tell the people, what's essentially your goal in life, your mission right now. I know we talked about your own like your own personal journey that you started with
Yeah.
my walk for faith, or what is your goal and your message for the world?
Okay. Oh, this will be fun.
Okay.
So, the number one question that I get is, how do I stay so positive? And I feel like there's a reason I get that question so much, because that's a huge thing that people struggle with, not even with living with a disability. So I want to take that and just like run with it.
Okay.
I want to take all these little like things that I do each day to help me stay in this mindset and give them to other people. So, as far as like my goals and stuff, I'm working towards, I have my own blog, which is on my website. And with that, I just share like parts of my disability that people don't necessarily realize and parts that will help other people. So I have that. I want to keep building my clothing line and have stuff out there that people read on shirts that just like makes them smile.
Yeah.
Or stuff that like you don't think about, like little like things that I tell myself every day that people can read, and like somebody will be wearing a piece of clothing and it'd be like, okay, that's actually really smart and I need to start doing that with my life. Or like, wow, that's like a super positive thing to say. Like there's so much negativity in the world today, especially with social media, and like social media gets a really bad rap. But I feel like if more people took it and used it in a positive way, like
yeah, because it's a platform.
There's so much power in it,
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I got my blog, my clothing line that's like still building, still working on that. And then my last little like entrepreneur Ellie part is I'm going to open like an online course through my website where I can have people pay just like a little bit of money, but get like a lifetime worth of
knowledge and stuff like that.
Like growth and how to get in this mindset where you're not living unhappy, like how to live a happier life. Because seriously, like laying in bed, 17, 18-year-old Ellie sobbing, she wishes somebody could tell her the things that she knows now, and if I could get somebody one step closer to that happy state of mind than I was at that time, like, break the time it's going to take them in half. Like that would be amazing just to help people like that. So, those are kind of like my goals and my journeys, but I just want to help people. And I feel like I feel like everybody's purpose in life, because we all have a purpose.
Yes.
Is to make this world a better place, whether that's through helping people, whether that's through helping animals, through spreading good word, like just that's what we're here for. So, I mean, anything I can do to do that, I'm going to do it.
For sure.
So, yeah.
No, that's like I said, that's everything you do is amazing. It's so inspiring for not just for the people, but I can say specifically and selfishly for myself, it's so inspiring for me too. Again, I want to thank you for everything. I thank you for, coming on here and telling your story and speaking about your journey and opening up and, essentially being vulnerable. I know this isn't, it's new to just go in and talk about traumatic events that, specifically the one that you went through. But I'm so thankful we were able to do this. I'm so thankful we were able to set this up. You're a special person. You have a meaning and a message in life that I hope everybody can really appreciate and really take advantage of. And I'm sure a lot of people out there can like echo those same sentiments. But let them know one last final time where they could reach you, how the best methods of communications, and just all that.
Okay. Yeah. So basically across all my platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, because I am TikTok kind of famous. So go follow me on there. It's all at My Walk for Faith. So it's pretty simple. My name's Ellie. If you need to reach me, the best way is usually DM on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe my email is also on my Instagram. So feel free to reach out to me in both those ways if you need anything or want to partner with me or work with me. I am here to spread good words. So
Yay. Well, listen, everybody. I really, really hope if you stuck around this long, thank you. But I really think this is a lot of important information on here, and a lot of things that need to be highlighted. And I definitely think you're going to get a lot of engagement and a lot of conversations afterwards. And we can speak off air to a lot more opportunities as well. But just wanted to tell you, I'm always going to be here for support if you need anything. I'm definitely willing to collaborate on so many other things that we can do, fundraising or even funding back home, but specifically with anything you have working on. I don't know if I can give so much resources. I mean, not that I have access to a lot, but I just want to help out in any way.
This guy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to technology. Oh my gosh.
No, yeah.
Seriously.
Anything you need from me that I can help with, definitely just reach out. But again, this is, I wanted to say this one, the last episode for the month of June. And yeah, so that's been another episode of the Hypocritical AF podcast. Again, I am your host, Albert Fig. And today is a special episode recap, highlight everything with Ellie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Y'all stay safe and check your low pressure warnings on your tires. Peace.
Bye.